Welcome to the first episode of UX to EX, the ongoing series where we'll be looking at how UX and EX amplify your business. While every other episode will be focusing on different tips, tricks, best practices, what's in the news, this episode will be looking at the core elements by identifying what exactly UX is, what exactly EX is, and how they relate. And by we, I mean myself, Eddy Gill, Marketing Director at TutorLead, as well as Solution Designer Extraordinaire, Richard Plant. Richard?
Thank you, Eddy, for the gracious welcome message there. Yeah, I'm the creative lead at TutorLead. My passion has always been making elegant solutions for the employee experience, leveraging UX. And so, what is UX? I guess that's the first thing we want to cover in this episode, right? So,
Jump right in.
yeah, I love the definition given by the Nielsen Norman Group. They define user experience as encompassing all aspects of the end user's interaction with a company, its services, and even its products. I mean, all aspects that can range from several different disciplines like engineering, your developers, marketing, sales, graphic design, all the way down to the interface design. So we're talking a large plateau or a large area that user experience covers. Do you have any experience with UX, Eddy? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, of course. I've done a lot of different projects, building websites, for example, being a main one where user experience was a major priority, of course. Landing pages as well is a big part of that, kind of go hand in hand together. Yeah, user experience is extremely important, and I think it's sometimes undermined to simply structure. But it goes way beyond that. It's optimizing structure for a specific experience or for a specific user. So I think it's an extremely interesting topic. And there's, of course, a lot of similarities between UX and EX. So why don't I dive right into defining EX? To quote our white paper, EX equals employee experience, and it relates to the impact a workplace has on an employee. The experience comprises of every touch point and interaction an employee has in an organization. This can range from human interactions to how a system works, right? So very big, broad definition there, but really focusing in on the employee. But then again, you probably already know this because based on a survey of 1,550 employers, representing 9.45 million employees across a range of industries, 92% of employers have identified that enhancing EX is an important priority and plan to improve it within the next 3 years. Now, this was done in 2021. And while some companies are on the right path, some are yet to take action, which is a little bit alarming. There's enough proof out there, whether that's in Jacob Morgan's book or the plethora of information online. EX equals better business, means more profit, a lot of good advantages there. So hopefully we see more people, and I think we will. I think it's inevitable, seeing more people amplifying and emphasizing EX. So why don't you take us into the relationship aspect of these two? How do they relate?
Yeah, no, that's a great call out. I think they're really closely related. Both disciplines that we're talking about, user experience and employee experience, have a human-centered mindset. So we're putting the end user first or your staff first in this approach. In general terms, UX is anything dealing with interacting with a product or service. Again, this is usually a digital kind of a product that we're talking about, user experience, processes, those kind of things.
Yeah, so more applicable to the digital employee experience than the employee experience.
That's it, yeah. And then EX, again, is more even focused in on the employee specifically. And what kind of sets it a little different is it can cover both physical and digital experiences. So things like your workspace and the tools that you use to do your job. Like I said, whether we're discussing user experience, customer experience, which is another form, employee experience, and even service design, they all place the user at the center. So there's that key similarity between each.
All right, so now, every episode, something we're going to be doing at the end of every episode is a little quick fire Q&A. So today we have 3 questions prepared, and let's dive right into them. Question number 1, Richard. What are the ramifications around bad UX for EX?
So the ramifications around bad UX for EX can affect many different things. Like how often do you go to a website, you look at their navigation or you even try the search, and it gets so frustrating because you can't find what you're looking for. I mean, it seems to happen uh, on a daily basis, sadly.
Especially when I'm trying to return something.
Yeah, yeah, it's not always the case, right? But then
Yeah.
if we look at one level deeper at the employee level, like let's say you're on the intranet, your company's intranet, and maybe you feel overwhelmed because there's just so many links, you don't even know where to start to do a task that's been assigned to you. This could cause, errors in your work too, which that's just we don't want that when we're doing our work and our jobs. So
And a lot of wasted time as well,
a
right?
lot of wasted time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So having a solid UX will improve the employee experience and it will improve efficiency all around.
Right. It's essentially facilitating any type of internal communication or any type of
Yeah.
document finding and things like that to kind of remove that from the time that the employee spends, right? Because at the end of the day, that affects your bottom line. Awesome. All right. Well, next question. How can UX design principles be applied to employee experience? We kind of touched on that a little bit, right? But if you have to break it down, what would be some of the areas?
Yeah, I'll give you four principles that are off the top of my head. The first one is personalization, letting the user work on their terms. Again, from UX, how you work with certain tools and the processes and flows that go along with that. And then from the employee experience, could be as simple as how you set up your work environment, configuring settings in your apps and those kind of things.
Right.
Second principle would be simplification. Simple is always better. If you can simplify really complicated tasks and processes, it just makes it easier in the workplace. Streamlining some of those processes and procedures too just helps all around when you're going through the employee experience. The third
Mhm.
principle I would say, Eddie, is
Mhm.
flexibility. So,
Mm.
we all like to have flexibility in the different contexts and situations that are involved. So, like employee experience, this could be providing employees with flexible working arrangements, and helping them improve their own work-life balance. So this goes above and beyond just your day 9 to 5, your working time. This could affect your work-life balance outside of that too. So,
Could
and
also
then
be the flexibility of how systems are designed for different departments, for
yeah,
different roles, for different things like that, right? So flexible always equals a better user and employee experience for sure.
yeah, and then the final principle, which we've kind of talked about this, but I have to keep repeating it, is empathy,
Mm.
putting the user first. This is the core. At the end of the day, you'll have a good UX if you put yourself in the user's shoes and how they experience their tasks, their day to day, understanding that and having an appreciation for that to solve their problems at the end of the day. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, and I
So I
think an
hope that.
important sorry to interrupt. I think an important distinction there is putting yourself in their shoes, right? So you're in their shoes. You're not you, right? Don't forget that because that's, I think, an important thing that people skip.
Yeah, and it can be tricky, because
Of
you and
course.
I we're using these tools every day, and we're so close to them. Sometimes it becomes second nature, and we forget.
Mhm.
Maybe someone isn't used to this tool or this process just yet, and maybe there is a better way. So there's always room to improve and look at those kind of
Mhm.
situations.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last question. What are some examples of creative thinking that can improve work-life balance? So creative thinking being, thinking creatively through UX situations and work-life balance being that EX element here, right?
Right, there's a few ways we talked about, like in just improving your navigation on your intranet, your digital workspace area, and the tools that you use, making it easier to get to those tools. Um, and then another example that comes to my mind is even just improving and simplifying the time off request form or the process that goes through. If you create an online kind of streamlined process, where employees can go anytime, anywhere, and access time off, and it goes to their manager or to the HR, and then they can get approval. That improves productivity all around. So that's another really practical way. And then in terms of empathy, as a manager, we always like to kind of keep our finger on the pulse of our staff and just conducting regular staff surveys. Or even, something we do at Tudely is having one-on-one check-ins, talking with staff and seeing how they're doing. That I think goes really far for staff and helps with their engagement at the end of the day.
Perfect. All right. Well, that takes us to the end of our episode. We hope you liked the inaugural episode. I want to thank Richard Plant for being my partner in crime on these, and we hope you enjoyed it and look forward to the next one.
Thank you, and thank you, Eddy.